It's time once again for another thrilling episode of Markout Radio. Next hour, sit back, pull the stick out of your ass, and enjoy. Be warned though, smarks and internet know-it-alls will be offended, annoyed, and generally pissed off at what's about to happen to your ear holes. You've been warned. Now, Markout Radio.
That's right, we're back. Jesus. Having a lot of trouble with my fucking equipment. This is what happens when you unplug it so your daughter can have karaoke dance party. So, give me just a second. I'm going to try to save your ear holes. A little bit of pain. Not all of the pain, of course. Just a little bit of the pain. Holy shit. There we go. That's better. All right. So, welcome back to Markout Radio. It is Sunday, October the 9th, 2016. I am, of course, Dave Dark Fox Nemrick. Welcome. Listen, there's a couple things I can get out of the way. First of all, repping more wrestling gear. Like a 90s mark, my NWO shirt, just showed it off to the chat room, with my Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner signature on the back there. And the Genetic Freak shirt. That's how he gets away with marketing shit, I guess. I don't know. I don't give a shit. Didn't cost me that much. That was a cool shirt. It's kind of neat to meet him. Anyways, back to more wrestling bullshit for your fucking ear holes. Now, there's a couple things I kind of wanted to talk about before we get into television that's on television that you guys watch all the time. First of all, there's listen, I'm a little bit involved. I'm not going to say I'm totally involved all the fucking time, but I'm a little bit involved with the local indie scene, in that I go to shows and know some of these wrestlers and interact with some of these wrestlers out in the real world. And that has good and bad parts to it, if I'm brutally honest, because wrestlers are no different than anybody else. They're right a lot. And, when I say they're right a lot, I mean in their own special ways. They're right a lot. And listen, I'm just gonna blow up someone's spot here today, and that's gonna just have to be the way it is this time. All right. So one of the plus/downsides to this, being as involved as I am, which again is arguable at best, is that I'm interacting with a few of these guys online, and there's one of them right now who's not wrestling anymore. And once upon a time, was known as Mortimer Graves, and he had like this clown gimmick. I should try to find a picture for you guys that are lucky enough to be watching this on YouTube and Ustream here. I'm going to try to find a picture while I keep telling you about this. So forgive me if I space out a little bit here, but it's kind of interesting to just sort of put a visual image to this. Anyways, so Mortimer Graves, who in my opinion was a fantastic gimmick. There we go. There's a picture of Morty. Picture of Mortimer Graves. Wow, that's a really shitty picture. That was not taken by my buddy Rachel. That's for damn sure. All right, so this is Mortimer Graves. I'll try to find a better picture of it. I'm just going to show you it. It's going to be over there. Holy shit, I finally pointed to a place where something was. All right, so anyways, this is Mortimer Graves. And Mortimer Graves has not been wrestling for a while. He's been transitioning to a woman, and that's perfect and fine and everything like that. Here's the thing, though. He's been going through these phases where, we're going to play a promo by Mortimer Graves. I don't think so. Here, I'm going to show you another picture. This is a little bit better. Not much better, but a little bit better. Anyways, so he's been going through these things where he's seems to be getting more and more liberal. Nothing wrong with that. It is what it is. Now, while getting on this little liberal bandwagon of his, he's got a lot of thoughts, and not a lot of them are well-informed thoughts. They're just thoughts. And so the one that he shared this week on Facebook was about spankings. And I don't care if you spank your kids or not. I don't give a flying fuck, for the same reason that I don't care if you are practicing a religion or not. If it doesn't invade my space, I don't care. There's so much going on that actually affects me directly, that I find it difficult to get morally wound up about shit that doesn't affect me. Now, I guess you could say that I'm invested because I have kids. My wife and I are really big spanking people. And it's not because we don't believe in spanking. It's just that, it's the last resort. We try all kinds of things before you try spankings. The timeouts, taking away toys, taking away activities, the whole 9 yards, right? Spanking is like the last resort. And I think my daughter's 6. I think I've given her 1 or 2. And by spankings, I mean 1 light slap to correct behavior. And the unfortunate thing is that this stupid fucking thing that he shared was about this study. And this has been shared a couple times on Facebook, as far back as when it was released back in late April of this year. They studied 160,000 kids over the last 50 years. And I read the study, and as a fan of wrestling and a fan of science in general, I subscribe to the belief system. I guess it's a belief system. I don't know. I subscribe to the rules. That's a better word for it. The rules of science, which is if you're going to have a study, it needs to be a double-blind study. So when I say that, I mean you have to compare spanked kids with non-spanked kids. So if you're going to have 160,000 spanked kids, you've got to compare them to 160,000 non-spanked kids. And then you got to compare the two of them with how well-adjusted they became as adults. And that's what a study is. Unfortunately, this study just studied 160,000 kids, which... if you just take the population of the United States of America, with 360 million people, that is 0.04% of the population. So it's not a statistically relevant study. And his big thing was 160,000 people is tons of people. No, it's not. I mean, in a city of 1 million people, that's a ton of people. That is more than 25% of the population. But in just in America, which has 360,000 people, 360 million people, that is statistically irrelevant. And so I kind of just got on there and saying, listen, I'm not a fan of people that spank their kids just to fix every little thing. And I'm not a big fan of people that don't spank their kids at all because you're forcing me to deal with your fucking annoying kids all the time. But, most of the case, I can never tell if a kid's been spanked or not just by looking at him. And this study made the wild claim that you could tell a kid that was spanked from a kid that was not spanked based on how they act as adults, which is crazy because I was spanked and I'm a complete asshole. So it's sort of weird. And I'm not an asshole in the way like, I'm going to fight you. I'm just an asshole in the way that I don't fucking care what you think. So... sorry. But that being said, it was a very weird, it was a weird conversation. And one of those conversations spiraled out of control with a local wrestler who's been a wrestler for quite a few years, Thrill and Dylan. And he's got 2 little daughters too. And he is a non-spanking proponent. And he made that abundantly clear. Now, my stance is, I believe that a little corporal punishment is needed if the situation demands for it. If you've tried everything and nothing's getting through and a light slap on the ass gets that attention and then you do the timeout and take away some shit on top of it all, you really ramp up the punishment factor. By doing that stuff, you make sure that your kid understands that you fucking mean business. That's, in my opinion, just good parenting. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you, viewer and listener, how to raise your kids. And I'm also not going to tell Mortimer Graves / now Nat Graves how to raise her children either. I'm also not going to tell Thrill and Dylan how to raise his children because that's not my fucking business. It's not my fucking business how you raise your kids. And I'm not going to stand up and say that you spanking your kids is ruining your kids when there's no direct scientific evidence to prove that. There's a study that was thrown out there that has no statistically relevant facts. It wasn't a double-blind study. It's ridiculous. It's the fact of the matter is it was funded by Christian parents. And so, of course, they're going to say that corporal punishment bad because whatever the fuck their reason today is, I don't give a shit. It's just a stupid fucking study and it was a stupid fucking conversation and it boiled down and it got out of control. And here's where it got out of control. And this is why it relates to wrestling. I'm sorry that the story took this long to get to wrestling, but here it is. So Thrill and Dylan has been wrestling for a lot of years. And so I asked him very plainly, have you ever given another wrestler a stiff shot? Well, no, I've never beaten up a wrestler. No. I'm not asking you if you've stepped into the ring and beaten the car to somebody because you didn't like them or they did something you didn't appreciate or whatever the fuck. I'm asking if you've ever given somebody a stiff shot. And eventually, after about 6 hours, he finally admitted that he has given wrestlers stiff shots, but only when they've given him a stiff shot. Okay, fine. Let's play that fucking card. Let's play that caveat. So then if your kid hits you, it's okay to give the kid a spanking, right? Because I thought, well, I'll play along. So if your kid hits you, you're allowed to hit your kid back. Is that what you're basically saying? Well, no, because the kid's underage and I'm exerting my physicality over somebody. Listen, you're 300 fucking pounds. You're 6'5". Everyone you deal with on a daily basis, you're asserting your physical will over. I'm sorry if that's shock to you or somehow shatters your sad little universe, but that's true. And I've witnessed, personally, you giving a stiff shot to somebody that I knew to be under the age of 18. So you have inflicted corporal punishment on somebody that is underage that was entrusted into your care. But of course, that doesn't work in his sad little world. And so I had to ramp up shit. So I actually, back when I was going to these things early and stuff like that, I would bring the little recorder and I would sit there. And if any of the guys wanted to come and talk, they were more than welcome to come over and talk to me. Do a little interview or whatever. And he was all too eager to come over and talk to me about the Northern Hell Tour, which is something that a lot of wrestlers that live in Canada go on. It's essentially taking a bunch of wrestlers, packing them into a couple of vans with a ring truck or the ring trailer behind it, and going up north where people can't get until the rivers and lakes freeze over. It sounds as terrifying as I'm sure it is. Now, on that tour, he told a rather amusing anecdote about how there was a kid who refused to get out of the van to help to change a tire because the van had gotten a flat. And so a bunch of the guys were out there changing the tire and they were having a hard time finding packed enough snow to use the jack, because every time they tried to use the jack, because it's got such a small little footprint, they're having trouble finding enough space to use the jack without it digging into the snow, the hard packed snow. So they had to use like a snowshoe principle. So they had to grab a big fucking piece of wood, broken piece of branch, and put that under the van and then jack it up and change the tire. So he told this amusing anecdote about this kid slept through all this. And then at the very next show, he gave the kid a stiff shot. And it happened to be a stiff shot that gave the kid a shiner. So the kid had this shiner for the rest of the tour. And the kid spent the next couple of days trying to find some cover up for it or whatever. So he didn't look like he had a shiner. But after a while, he just sort of gave up and just rocked the shiner. And it's an amusing anecdote because the kid wasn't doing what the kid was supposed to be doing, which is helping out with the flat tire. And Dylan gave him a stiff shot just to let him know, listen, next time, wake the fuck up and come and help out with the van. Now, he took exception to this, saying that I'd said that he physically abused people, that he assaulted people on it. Of course he does. He's a wrestler. That he's asserted his physical dominance. Like everything came out of the fucking woodwork. And this is the thing. When you are going to talk to people, you need to understand that wrestlers are no different than every other asshole on the planet. Every single one of them wants to be right, and they will do any fucking thing they can to be right. And it's irrelevant what you think. It's totally irrelevant whether you think that what they're saying is right or wrong. They believe it, and they're going to go with it. And so a wrestler who's been training wrestlers for the better part of 15 years was bold enough to claim that corporal punishment is good enough for teaching young wrestlers, but bad for teaching children, even when the wrestlers are underage. It's a bold stance, I thought. It's a bold stance. And I thought it was interesting that he would take that stance. And it was funny because after it all happened, I just sort of went, yeah, well, that's just Thrillin' Dylan being Thrillin' Dylan. He's one of those pseudo-intellectual types that thinks that he knows everybody's answers to everybody's questions before they even ask him. And it's amusing to me. And so then a couple days later, Nat Graves is posting something on Facebook, totally unrelated, and I just happened to see it pop up on my feed. And Thrillin' Dylan went on to say that he'd been what the fuck was the phrase? Because it was a gold phrase. I'm gonna have to look it up because I have released a life lesson, and I'm gonna share with you all the life lesson. So I'm I'm going to try to find it here real quick on my face. Okay, here we go. Slandered. That's what it was. I slandered him because I said that he gave somebody a stiff shot. I slandered him. And I slandered him because I said that he gave somebody a black eye, which he's done numerous times, by the way. It was just one story. And believe me, he's done it many, many times. He's a wrestler. This shit just happens. Sometimes it happens by accident. Sometimes it happens on purpose. Now, a little life lesson for everyone that I pulled away from this little adorable story, and I'll put a wrap on it with this, is that if you're going to pick a fight and then you get your ass kicked, you don't get to claim that the other person bullied you, slandered you, or you were somehow misrepresented. You lost. Just learn something from it. I know, it's a Dark Fox quick tip of the day. Try to live it every now and then. Okay. I'm going to move on to something that's a little, well, it's still close to home. Tyson Dukes. It was, he was part of the CWC, the Cruiserweight Classic. And after everything was all said and done, he's back home, and he's doing all his gimmicks and everything like that. And he was being interviewed by a podcast, and he said in that podcast that he enjoyed the experience, but that WWE wanted a lot of control over the matches, the booking, and some of the moves that the guys use on a daily basis. They didn't want them to actually use them. And I just kind of thought that was fucking amazing, because Tyson Dukes is 38 years old, and this is not the first time that he's worked for the WWE. So it kind of was amusing that this would somehow come as a surprise or even be worth mentioning, because yeah, WWE has a very specific style, and guess what? It changes. It changes no matter what. And it changes all the fucking time, and it's constantly on the go. And good Lord Almighty. Oh God. All right, just give me. I'm sorry. I'll take it out of the show. I'm sorry. I'm going to take it out of the show. Fucking unbelievable. There's like one day a week when I do things, and there's an emergency, apparently, where I need to go lift something. So I'll, whatever. Anyways, so as I was saying, WWE has a very specific style, and it changes depending on which wrestler you're talking about and which day you're talking about. It's a little bit like the wrestling rule book. It just doesn't stay the same. So it shouldn't come as a surprise. It shouldn't come as a shock. And anybody that read that and that was somehow blowing their hair back really needs to have their fucking heads examined, because, wrestling, WWE sort of has control issues. I know it's a news flash. No, I'm not even going to say I was as shocked as you were. It's fucking stupid. You're a fucking retard if you thought that was fucking fascinating or even remotely a surprise. And the fact that that podcast that will remain nameless, because just so sad that I don't want to blow up your spot. And listen, I will happily blow up a lot of people's spots, but that is just so sad. That was how they promoted the show. And promoted the download the last 2 weeks. Even after he was off the show, they were promoting the show saying that he shot on the WWE, and that's what he shot on. It was sad clickbait, and you had to sit through an hour of show to get to it, by the way. So I will not punish you by making you sit through that. You already sit through my shit. Now it's been a couple weeks since I've been on the air, and Clash of Champions happened a couple weeks ago, and tonight there's a pay-per-view. So you don't exactly get a lot of time to catch up on this shit. So let's talk a little bit about Clash of Champions, because it was very, very what's the word I'm looking for? Mediocre. Okay, so first match was Nia Jax getting over on Alicia Fox. I gave it 1 out of 5, and I was being very, very generous here. It was basically a fat female Goldberg. And that'll teach that bitch Alicia Fox to throw a box in anyone's face. Alicia Fox to throw a box in anyone's face. Fuck her for throwing a box, and this is what happens, I guess. I don't understand. I don't get what the buildup was supposed to be. She threw a box in her face and lipped her off, and that somehow equates to Nia Jax dismantling her and annihilating her in record time in a match that wasn't even remotely entertaining. So there was that. After that was New Day defeating Gallows and Anderson. Now what? No, really, I'm serious. Like, now what? So these guys have never beaten the New Day. Not even in a non-title match have they beaten the New Day. The only thing they've ever done to the New Day was cut promos and be cute and sarcastic. So I'm curious as to what you're supposed to do with these guys now, because they've proven that they're not contenders, which is the whole reason why you hired them and then pushed them into the main event position in the first place. And by main event, I mean main event of the tag team division. And they just can't seem to get a win, even remotely close to getting a win. And so Gallows and Anderson, unfortunately, are just left to be fodder to put the New Day over because they need it so bad. Whatever. Anyways, the match itself was entertaining. It was just the booking is baffling to me. I don't understand the booking. I don't understand where you're going to go from here. But whatever. I guess I'm just a fucking mark, and I don't understand what WWE's master plan is, other than ruining two perfectly good tag team that they hired away from New Japan. But whatever. But the wrestling itself was actually very, very good. I enjoyed the match. I give it 3.5 out of 5. I enjoyed it. The next one was TJ Perkins' first defense of his cruiserweight title, and he defeats Kendrick. I gave it 3 out of 5. It was a decent match. It's definitely not the best I've ever seen out of either of these guys, even on the WWE. Like, I understand that they can't, like, for example, TJ Perkins can't break out the suicide manic moves in the WWE. Just because they're not, first of all, they're not set up for it. The cameramen probably are totally inept and incapable of capturing that in the first place. But Kendrick has been in the WWE for years before, and we've seen better from both of these guys, and this was more or less a house show match on TV. But here's the thing. WWE is going to have to take their fucking ego out of this, because they hired these guys because these guys do high-flying, flippy-dippy bullshit, and that's why you created the cruiserweight division, because these guys do high-flying, flippy-dippy bullshit. So if you guys are going to put your little rules in place and make them not do all the flippy-dippy bullshit that they like to do, you're not going to actually get the cruiserweight division, which you hired these guys to give your cruiserweight division. I know it sounds like it's contrary advice, but I want you to stop and think about this. If you hire somebody because they can operate a nail gun really good, and then they show up at the job site and you give them a hammer, do you think that they're ever going to get the level of production that they had when you hired them as nail gun operators if you give them a fucking hammer? No, obviously not. And that's what they're doing with these WWE cruiserweight division bullshit. And we knew this is what was going to happen. They bring in the cruiserweights. They let them get away with some of the shit that they like to do in the Cruiserweight Classic. And don't get me wrong, it was amazing. But now that they're up on the main roster on Raw, we got pretty much zero flippy-dippy bullshit. So the WWE is going to have to really loosen them fucking reins and just let these guys perform, because these guys can perform. And if they hurt themselves, well, tough shit. Again, these guys are not wrestling as often as they were on the indies. These guys are wrestling just about every fucking day a week when they were working on the indie circuit. Now that they're working for the WWE, they're working 3 to 4 days a week, max. Let them do their flippy-dippy bullshit. Leave them the fuck alone, because you're not actually getting the return for what you paid for. But the match was actually pretty decent. As far as WWE matches go, it was above decent. So I gave it 3 out of 5. Sheamus Cesaro, I gave it 3.5 out of 5. Now I'm giving the score right off the get-go because I don't want it to seem like I hated the match, because what comes next is just a lot of hatred and vile and vitriol. The audio was really fucking horrible. First of all, they had to sub in a hot crowd for the crowd that didn't give a fuck about the match. If you look at the crowd, everyone was sitting. Everyone was in their seats. Maybe a few of them are nodding in appreciation every now and then, or clapping in appreciation, and rightly so. But they weren't really into the match. And for some strange reason, Cesaro and Sheamus couldn't get them into the match. And that's going to happen. Listen, there are great comedians out there that can't get an audience laughing. Shit happens. But what we don't do is put a laugh track in there, which is essentially what they did. They put the arena is a closed arena. And the audio track that they put in was from an open arena because you can tell the audio difference alone. I wasn't even listening with headset and I could tell. It was terrible. And the thing was that it was really, really horrible. Now, it was sort of a blessing because they ended up calling it a no contest, which was probably the safest thing to do, because the guys were really, really trying to get the crowd into it, and they were taking a lot more risks than they really normally would, perhaps. And Cesaro is still in phenomenal shape. Don't get me wrong, Sheamus looks fantastic, but Cesaro is in excellent shape. And so Cesaro looked like he was ready to keep going, and Sheamus looked like he was knocked fucking loopy. And he was not selling, he was knocked fucking loopy. But they called it a no contest, and there it is. And when Glenn's in chat, he said, for that match, the crowd looked like a New Japan Pro Wrestling crowd, which is true. If you watch New Japan Pro Wrestling, that is what you see in their audience. You see people quietly enjoying wrestling. Like they're just, I'm giving a British accent because this seems like what a British person would do. And I really feel like if I did a Japanese accent, I'd somehow make somebody angry or trigger a race war or something. But, this is a wrestling match, is it? Isn't this jolly good fun? Oh, that was a wonderful move. Oh, that's what you get when you watch a New Japan. That's terrible. That's what ends up happening with a crowd in a New Japan match. And that, unfortunately, was always happening to Sheamus and Cesaro. They just could, for whatever reason, they just could not get the crowd off their asses. And it just was not happening. And calling it a no contest, it looked like it legitimately pissed them both off. And I'm sure it did, because they probably both would have worked through it. But that being said, being what it is, it was just for whatever reason they couldn't get the crowd into it, and luckily, and this is a horrible thing to say, so I apologize in advance. I hope neither guy was actually hurt, but luckily there was a big spot outside to the spill over the barricades, and both guys got hurt. So calling it a no contest, awesome. That's good. That's fine. It pushed the best of 7 back, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. The next match was Jericho going over on Sami Zayn. I don't actually have a problem with this. I would like to see Zayn get more W's, obviously, because his character is starting to quickly turn into Rudy, and he's just never gonna win, and nothing is ever gonna happen, and he's gonna be that special needs student that's on the football team that they give the football to when they've run up the score really bad in high school, and they give the football to the special needs kid to create like a feel-good movement afterwards. That's what they're turning Sami Zayn into, and it sucks because I really like Sami Zayn and I really want him to do things. And don't get me wrong, I understand Jericho's been on the losing end of a lot of things lately, but he's had a long career, so fuck it. Let him lose. Who cares? But you just let a geriatric old guy beat a young up-and-comer handily defeat him. And the sad thing was that the move that ended the match was the most botched piece of shit code breaker I've ever seen Jericho do. And what they should have done was Zayn should have kicked out of that shit, and then Jericho should have thrown him right back into it, and then they could have gone home there. I mean, it was right up until that point, though, and don't get me wrong, the booking, again, don't understand it, don't agree with it, fucking hate it. But the wrestling was fucking great. I mean, it really was. It was fucking great. Jericho can still fucking wrestle, and Sami Zayn is excellent. And I gave it 3 out of 5 because it failed in a lot of different ways. The first one was the botched codebreaker ending that will ruin a match. And as far as I'm concerned, you lose a point right there. I'm sorry. You lose, even if it was the best match I've ever fucking seen in my life, and I was going to give it a 5 out of 5. That botched codebreaker ending gives you a 4 right there. Why? Because you botched a fucking finisher. You botched a finish. It's the only thing you're supposed to be good at, and you botched it. And so they should have had it. They should have had the announcers go, "Oh, you didn't get all of that." Sami Zayn kick out. Chris Jericho get pissed off, throw him right back into the fucking code breaker. Actually hit it this time, and then pin him because it was just sad. Charlotte defeats Bayley and Sasha. Charlotte was again accidentally hurting both Sasha and Bayley, and I get it. That her gimmick is to be stiff and shit like that, but that there's some really ridiculous shenanigans happening. But I will say that at least she did a better job of selling their offense this time. But at one point, she accidentally cold-cocked Bayley outside of the ring. Like, legit wound up, cracked her one, cold-cocked her. And Bayley went fucking down like a sack of potatoes. So, but again, like Bailey and Sasha dragged that match up a certain level, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5. I'm sorry, I know I was probably being generous, but it was good. Reigns defeating Rusev. Oh God. These are so bad. I mean, I don't even like to talk about them because they're so bad. They're so bad. I'm giving it 2 out of 5, and I'm fucking telling you, both points belong to Rusev for making this fucking monkey look like he can actually wrestle. Speaking of monkeys, the audio monkeys had to kill the arena sound because a CM Punk chant started up. They weren't even in Chicago when a CM Punk chant started up. That's how little fucks people could give about Reigns right now. They will chant CM Punk. Honestly. And the fucking thing is, they badly dubbed in audio of Let's Go Roman and Roman sucks. Like, I get it. I understand you need to make it seem like something that's actually happening in the match isn't happening, but what's happening is that fans are chanting for CM Punk because the match is fucking awful, and then they dubbed in Roman, Let's Go Roman sucks, and then they realized, oh, maybe we shouldn't do that, and they changed it. They had some fake audio of Let's Go Roman, and then they had some fake audio of Rusev, like Let's Go Rusev or something like that. It was ridiculous. It was terrible. It was awful. The audio monkeys deserved to all be fired. They were terrible, and the match was terrible too. And as far as I'm concerned, Rusev made every little bit of that match and made that stupid monkey look like he can actually wrestle. Main event was Owens getting over on Rollins. There was lots of shenanigans, but that's really to be expected with both of the goofy gimmicks that these two guys are playing and the stupid goofy gimmicks that are going along with this program. The end of the match sets up a continued program, which is fine. But here's the thing. Rollins is booked as the architect. He's booked at some point. He has been dubbed the new cerebral assassin. At some point that's probably why he uses the fucking pedigree. At some point, somebody decided that this guy is so fucking brilliant that he needs to be called the architect. He has to be associated with being a fucking genius, an awesome wrestler, just the fucking best wrestler that could ever fucking be. That is what Rollins is being set up to be. However, at some point, somebody in WWE Creative is going to have to pull their fucking heads out of their asses and have him stop losing in such pathetically obvious and predictable ways. A Jericho run-in should have been the number one fucking thing that any so-called architect or cerebral assassin or anybody would ever fucking think of. Let's see. Owens and Jericho are best buddies. What should I prepare for in my match with Owens? I should prepare for valiant offense. I should be blocking that pop-up powerbomb. I should be rolling out of the way when that silly rolling thing into the corner comes in. But I shouldn't worry so much about Jericho because there's no way Jericho would ever interfere in a match with... Oh, Jericho interfered in the match. How did me as the architect of the Shield, how did me as the fucking new cerebral assassin not see Jericho coming a mile away? Oh, it's almost like WWE Creative have collectively put their heads inside of each other's asses and come up with the ends of these matches sometimes. The fact that Rollins and Owens even agreed to that, maybe somebody pulled rank or something, I don't know. Fucking ridiculous. Just absolutely fucking ridiculous. The entirety of Clash of Champions, I'm going to give it 2 scores, okay? I'm going to give it 1 score for the actual wrestling because WWE would be just completely out of business if they didn't fuck up and hire great wrestlers. They have a roster of arguably probably the best wrestlers they've ever fucking had. And if I was going to rate the wrestlers in the show and just put a rating on just the wrestlers, I would give the wrestling in Clash of Champions 4 out of 5. I would. I'm serious. I would. Even with some of the shenanigans and bullshit and tomfoolery that was going on. However, if I was going to give the production of Clash of Champions, and I'm not talking about the swooshing images and shit like that, anybody in fucking high school can do that bullshit nowadays, okay? Fuck off. It's not impressing anybody anymore. All the fucking graphics and the fucking bullshit and the goofy camera angles and the zoom in, zoom out bullshit that gives me fucking a seizure, all that shit, all that garbage, the writing, the booking, all that bullshit, you get a 1 out of 5. Fuck you. It's a horrible fucking pay-per-view, and I can't believe anyone would fucking pay for it. And if I was getting my 1 month free of the WWE Network, I'd be asking for my money back. Sorry, Clash of Champions was fucking bullshit. The booking makes no sense. There's no build for pretty much anything. And then the matches happen, and while the matches are fantastic because the wrestlers are amazing, the endings make no fucking sense. And again, here's your main event match of the night. Your main event match with the Architect. And listen, it would be one thing. It would be one thing if they didn't keep fucking going on and on and on and on and on about Rollins being the fucking Architect. That would be one thing. But during the match, all three fucking play-by-play guys, and by the way, you shouldn't need three, but whatever. All three play-by-play guys were just going over and over and over, sucking Rollins' dick about being a fucking architect and being so fucking smart. And then he gets somehow fucked by something that my fucking 5-year-old saw. Like, honestly. Like, my 5-year-old went, oh, well, here's Chris Jericho. Oh, what? That's not a surprise? Oh, that's not a surprise to a 5-year-old? Well, guess what? A 5-year-old is what the fucking WWE is supposedly targeting their audience for. So if it wasn't a surprise for a fucking 5-year-old, guess what? It fell flat for pretty much every fucking kid or adult or anybody else in the audience. Sorry. But the production was garbage and bullshit, and it sucked. Now, again, we're going to talk about production values because Ring of Honor is... so bad. Oh, the production is so awful. I mean, the wrestling is fucking untouchable, but the fucking production and the booking and oh my God. And the fucking announce crew. Oh, they give me a fucking migraine. Like Kevin Kelly and Nigel McGuinness are your bookers and the guys that run the Ring of Honor. And the two of them were on play-by-play and fucking up the most easy fucking shit all goddamn night. And in the meantime, you got Steve Corino, who was a shitty wrestler in ECW, couldn't get a job after that. Now he's a shitty play-by-play guy who was eating trail mix the entire fucking show because Kevin Kelly mentioned it 3 times and hitting the mute button when he's crunching away at the fucking nuts and berries or whatever the fuck else he's eating the goddamn trail mix. And then he's talking about how into fucking CrossFit he is. I'm sorry, fat ass. If you're into CrossFit, you're not filling your fucking mouth full of carbs for a 3-hour show. And by the way, what the fuck are you doing eating while calling a fucking show? I do a 1-hour shitty wrestling show and I'm not sitting here eating. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's like it's a fucking rib. It's a rib on wrestling fans. It's a rib on Ring of Honor marks. And don't be wrong, I don't say that in a derogatory way. I get it. I understand why people love Ring of Honor so much. The wrestling is fucking untouchable. It's fucking awesome. But the fuck, it's always been this comedy of errors. Like, honestly, PWG has better production value than Ring of Honor does. I don't care if you've got sushi graphics. I've said this before and I'll fucking say it again. Children can make the fucking sushi graphics. Like, honestly, you can get fucking high school kids to come and do the sushi graphics for you. Seriously. And fucking fire these guys. If these guys can't keep up with the fucking match, if they're too old, if they're too fat to follow along, then fucking fire them. There's 58 million fucking play-by-play guys out there that are doing a million times better job and not getting on television. Fire these fucking lame asses. Like, listen, Kevin Kelly can keep running the book and doing a bullshit job of that too, and constantly doing behind-the-scenes shit in the office and all that garbage. I'm sure at one point he was a great talent scout. Let him be a fucking talent scout. Let him go back to his roots and be a talent scout. He can clearly do that job. He can't do the fucking play-by-play. Now, this is all because Ring of Honor had their All-Star Extravaganza 8. I guess it was last week, a little more than a week ago. And it's so bad. Okay, so Nigel's a former wrestler. And so one would think that being a former wrestler and performing in front of a group of people, you'd have a little bit of charisma and maybe a little life in your voice or you know, maybe a little, I don't know, like a little joie de vivre, like just something. But it's like Nigel is talking about a fucking art gallery opening the way he talks about wrestling. Like, it sounds like he's talking about, it sounds like he's talking about the fucking royal family, the way he drags on dryly and uninterestingly in commentary. It's fucking terrible. And listen, I understand that I don't have a fantastic radio voice. I get that. But Kevin Kelly's makes mine look like a fucking all-star. He's fucking got this high-pitched, screechy voice that he's constantly fucking losing his shit over. The most mundane bullshit. But again, the wrestling is so good. And I sit there and I'm torn because I'm paying for a wrestling package. Like, I'm paying for I'm paying for Ring of Honor. I'm paying for a package. I'm paying for something that's got decent production value, which at one point Ring of Honor used to have, and now it's whatever. The lighting's for shit. The fucking announce team's garbage. The promos are weird and they make no fucking sense whatsoever. Like Adam Cole did had a pre-match recorded promo where he was talking about how Michael Elgin, after losing the title, went off to Japan to do whatever over there. And then he asked, what did I do? And then realized after saying that, I guess I should have shut my fucking mouth, because what did I do while Michael Elgin was away? I got injured 3 times and then spent about 1.5 years in fucking rehab. And I've come back and I'm 170 pounds soaking wet. Like, that never should have fucking made it to air. They should have said, no, I'm not feeling that one, Adam. Let's try another one. Let's try go with a different angle on this one. But again, it's just like, oh, we've got great wrestling, so let's just let these guys say whatever the fuck they're going to say, whether it makes sense or not. But again, wrestling was fantastic. It was this, what was the All-Star Extravaganza? They called it an All-Star Extravaganza because calling it another New Japan / Ring of Honor promotion would have seemed weird. They had one match that has CMLL wrestler in there with Dragon Lee going up against Kamatachi. Now, that was an excellent match. Really, it was excellent. But they should have done a better job of bringing in more Mexican wrestlers, because that was pretty much the only Mexican wrestler they had. There's no reason why they couldn't have brought in another 1 or at least 2 CMLL guys, especially considering they had the one tag team Fucktoberfest where they've got Dalton Castle and Colt Cabana, the All Night Express, Keith Lee and Shane Taylor, the War Machine. They could have brought in a Mexican team and had them in there too, or they could have replaced one of these guys with a Mexican team. They had a 3-on-3 match. They could have had a 3-on-3 3-way match. Whatever. They could have found a place for these guys, or they could have had an extra match in there too. The pay-per-view was under 3 hours, so why not? But there it is, and it is what it is. So I'll go through the matches real quick, and then we'll try to get to doing predictions for No Mercy here. Bobby Fish defeats Donovan Dijak. I think it's Dijak. I gave the match 3 out of 5. It was a pretty good match. Dijak sold the wrong knee a few times. I mean, he's only been wrestling for a few years, but he had different color knee pads, so it really should have been easy to keep track of which knee was the one that was actually hurt. Towards the end, it was really shifting back and forth about which knee was actually hurt or not. After that, Dalton Castle, who I fucking love, and Colt Cabana, who I fucking love, defeated All Night Express, and All Night Express are taking a knee for the Code of Honor. They refuse to shake hands. They're taking a knee, which is kind of clever. I mean, it's fine. It makes sense in a wrestling kind of way. It's kind of lame in a way too, but whatever. A team of militant black guys. That's always an intellectual treat with Keith Lee and Shane Taylor. That's always good. 2 really big black guys who are militant, and that's really nothing all that new. And of course, War Machine, who are awesome. But a lot of people don't really pay much attention to them. I don't know why, but it's with this many wrestlers and performers in the ring. It's really tough to not get lost in the shuffle. Like Dalton Castle and Colt Cabana really play to the crowd, so it's easier for them to not get lost in the shuffle. But Keith Lee and Shane Taylor, like, they pretty much were lost until Keith Lee did a suicide plunge over the top rope, which was, I mean, I've seen, I don't want to blow up a spot because I love him, but Alexander Prime did a over the top rope plunge at one time and caught his heel on the rope and landed really hard on his back, like really fucking hard on his back. The fact that this 300 plus motherfucker did a suicide planche over the top fucking rope was amazing. That was legitimately amazing. And then of course, the War Machine, it was Hansen, but the awesome play-by-play guys decided that instead of saying it was Hansen, they'd say it was the other guy, which was actually a little bit sad because Kevin Kelly's the one that hires these guys and books the matches and shit, and he just can't even keep the fucking War Machine guys. One's bald, one's got hair, Kevin. I mean, you're in transition yourself. You should be able to keep track of this shit. But again, really good. The highlight of the match, though, for me was actually kind of funny, and it was played up rather well. But Dalton did this thing where he sort of did he was bending backwards, and he fell down on his shoulders. And then Colt Cabana, who's his tag team partner, went over to pin him. Now, had Colt Cabana pinned him, they would have won. Even though they lost, because Dalton was the one that got pinned. But it's whoever pinned was the one that got to move on in this tag team tournament or whatever. So it was actually kind of brilliant in a funny way because of the way that it was worded. And now, of course, they're going to change the wording because they did it here. But it was a goofy little funny move. And I gave the match 3.5 out of 5. It was really good. Dragon Lee versus Kamachi. Fucking, I can't pronounce half of this shit. I gave the match 3 out of 5. Here's the thing. I'm going to talk about the match first. Okay. It was a decent match. I was expecting a lot more high-flying craziness based on all the lead-up promos. I was expecting a lot more suicide dives and moonsaults and planchas and shit like that. Like there were some pretty cool things. Like there was a Northern Lights dive, I guess, for lack of a better term, when Kamachi dove over the top rope and Dragon Lee was holding onto the top rope on the outside apron, and Kamachi grabbed a hold of him and gave him the sunset powerbomb or whatever, right? And that was a really cool spot. It was dangerous as fuck, but it was a really cool spot. And then Kamachi did another fucking crazy move where he basically did a bum drop almost off the top rope, which kind of didn't go over because the fucking announce team didn't sell it like it was a fucking crazy move. They just kept selling how he hit the back of his head or something. So, and again, Steve Corino was chastised on the air by Kevin Kelly for eating trail mix, and Steve Corino made an excuse that he hit the cough button in order to crunch away at his fucking food, which again, it's just here's the thing. Eat before the show and eat after the show. But if you're going to eat during the show, you're fucking fired. Like if that's how much, that's how seriously you're taking your job, get the fuck out of here. Like, honestly, go fucking hit the unemployment line somewhere. Get the fuck out of here if that's how seriously you're going to take this shit. But after that, Kyle O'Reilly defeats Hangman Page. Pretty decent. Kyle O'Reilly is super fucking stiff, and Hangman Page is an old school wrestler, so it was a pretty decent match. I gave it 3.5 out of 5. It was pretty good. Kushida, ACH, and Jay White defeated the Briscoes and Toru Yano. I gave it 4 out of 5 because it was fucking hilarious. Any match that has the Briscoes and Toru and Yano in there, I'm an automatic mark for it right off the get-go. But it was it was a good match in and of itself. Now, here's the thing. This match is part of a tournament to crown the Ring of Honor World 6-Man Tag Team Championship. Now, I want you to stop and think about the name here first. The Ring of Honor World 6-Man Tag Team Championship. Now, what do you think that title is? Does it sound like you're going to have a 3-way dance for the tag titles at some point? Because there's 3 guys on each team, so that's not it. So let's think about this for a second. Oh, I get it. Ring of Honor is getting a trios title, but we're not coming up with a cool name for it. We're going to call it something completely fucking stupid. Let me ask you this. They're called the Tag Team Champions because you have a tag team. It's a team that tags to one another. It's not called the 4-man team title. It's not called the 4-man tag team title. It's called the tag team title. It's 2 guys who tag each other in. That's why it's called the tag team title. Now, if you're going to have a trios title, that's totally fine. And I understand why you don't want to call it the trios title because that's sort of a Mexican thing and you want to put your American stamp on it. Totally fine with that. That's totally fine. But calling it the 6-man tag team title is fucking stupid because 6 men are not holding the goddamn fucking titles. 3 are. 3-man tag team championship. Why the fuck don't you call it something more interesting? Trinity tag titles. I don't know. Call it the Freebirds title since you fucking retards on play-by-play kept talking about the goddamn Freebirds the whole goddamn match. But calling it the 6-man tag team championships is fucking stupid because when there's 2 tag teams, you don't call it the 4-man tag titles. And what if you have a 3-way dance for the 6-man tag team championships? Do you now call it the 9-man tag team championships? What if you have a 4-way dance for the 6-man tag team championships? Do you now call it the 12-man tag team championships? It makes no fucking sense. It's 3 men who hold the title, or 3 whatever individuals that hold the title. So it's got to be something based on 3. There you go, Glenn and Chat, triple tag. There you go, the triple tag team championship. Calling it the 6-man tag championships is fucking stupid. Kevin Kelly and Niall McGuinness, go back to the fucking drawing boards, you guys. Names fucking suck. You're morons. Stop it. Stop being morons. All right? The match, 4 out of 5. Then you got Jay Lethal versus Tetsuya Naito. I keep calling him Naito because, frankly, that's the only part of his name I can pronounce because I'm a fucking white devil. Now, I gave that match 4 out of 5 as well. For a lot of different reasons. First of all, it was a really good match. There was lots of screw jobs, near falls, chain wrestling. Naito's really coming to his own, and Lethal is transitioning really well into chasing titles as opposed to being the champion. Commentary. Fucking commentary again. The fucking commentary. Carino finally stopped eating at this point and was actually getting into the match, which is nice. But he got into the match because the ring announcer got kicked by Naito in the stomach. Don't get me wrong, it was fucking hilarious, but that's what got him into this fucking match. Now, let me ask you a question. When you have play-by-play guys, is it the wrestler's job to get the play-by-play guys into the match, or is it the play-by-play guy's job to get the fans into the match? Oh, that's right. The whole point of having fucking commentators is to explain what's happening in the ring and to get the fans into the match. So by Steve Carino not really giving a flying fuck until something happened that entertained him, he's basically saying, I'm just a fan who has a microphone in front of his face, and I'm just going to put over what I want to put over. I don't care if Ring of Honor is paying me. Again, fire Steve fucking Carino. Seriously, he's a fucking horrible play-by-play guy. Honestly. After that was Adam Cole versus Michael Elgin for the title. Again, the 3-match promo was fucking stupid. It made no sense whatsoever. It was a good match. There's nothing wrong with it. I gave it 3 out of 5. But here's the thing. Adam Cole has lost a lot of weight since getting injured. A lot of weight. And he wasn't really that big to begin with. But he looks like he's about 160, 170 pounds. And Michael Elgin is probably about 100 pounds more than that. And he's a big, big boy. So if you're going to believe that Adam Cole is able to beat up Michael Elgin, he has to do it doing moves that little guys do against big guys to get over. He's got to do, not luchador moves, but he's got to do moves that small guys can do against big guys to take away their strength in their offense. But he didn't. Adam Cole wrestled like he's the same size as Michael Elgin. And I know a lot of people are hot on Adam Cole, love Adam Cole, whatever. And listen, he looks good. He's a good-looking guy, and he's got a good charisma and shit. But I don't understand. Like in this case, the 3 out of 5 is based solely on the lackluster story being told in the ring. He's a little guy. He's giving up almost 100 pounds to his like the guy he's having to fucking wrestle against. And he wrestled it like it was a traditional wrestling match. Like it's 2 guys that are about the same weight that are just going to have a good old-fashioned wrestling match when he's tiny. Like he's tiny. And it just, I don't know. The match didn't do it for me. They performed well. Like they wrestle well. It's just the match didn't make any fucking sense. Which is unfortunate considering it led into probably the best ladder match I've ever seen in my life. No joke. It was fucking amazing. If you go back and you want to watch something that Ring of Honor has done, first of all, if when Ring of Honor releases the DVD, if there was a way that we could mute the play-by-play guys, that would really be appreciated. I mean, honestly, it would really be appreciated. It really was horrible, but the match was so fucking good that it defied the horribleness of the fucking shitty play-by-play. Honestly, this match had to live up to a lot. It had the Young Bucks, the Addiction, and Motor City Machine Guns. 3 legit teams with legit tandem offenses and defenses. It had a lot to live up to, and fuck did it ever. Even without the color from pretty much everybody. There were high spots, near falls, great crowd psychology, and it was just an amazing match. Now, here's the thing. Okay, hold on. I'm going to stay positive for just a second. The go-home double pile driver from the Young Bucks to Kazarian was probably one of the safest crazy moves I've ever seen. Unfortunately, this is where things turned. well, this is where things turn, but this is just more evidence of Ring of Honor fucking themselves, because Ring of Honor then showed the replay angle and they showed the side angle. And when they showed the side angle, you could see that Kazarian's head wasn't even through Nick Jackson's legs. You could see that his head was actually cradled in Nick Jackson's lap, and that Matt Jackson, when he came down, hit it with his thigh. So that basically it was the Young Bucks' asses going through a table, and Kazarian basically just took a shoulder bump. So it was a crazy, sick move when you looked at it from Matt Jackson's point of view, from the ladder, or, that area. But the minute that you took a look on the side there, and they showed the fucking replay twice, by the way, so you could see how they protected him and shit, it ruins the fucking magic. You've ruined the magic. They did this magical thing where they found a way to do a fucking pile driver totally safe, which is a feat unto itself, through a table, which is another feat unto itself, with Matt Jackson jumping off a ladder to give the extra oomph to it and shit, which is another feat in and of itself, because the fucking timing's amazing for that. And then you ruined it by showing the wrong fucking angle twice, where you see Kazarian basically take a shoulder bump. That's fucking ridiculous. And it's, the play-by-play was awful, again, but here's the thing. The most glaring place that the play-by-play sucked balls was during the match. There was a botch where, well, it wasn't a botch from the wrestlers, it was a botch from the play-by-play guys. Tanahashi comes out to save the Addiction from losing the belts by taking out the Young Bucks. And Kevin Kelly says that they came out and took out the Addiction. Go back and listen. I listened to it 3 times because I couldn't believe my fucking ears. They had just hit Alex, he had just hit Alex Shelley. You could have said Alex Shelley, but no, you had to say that Tanahashi came out to save the titles for the Addiction by taking out the, well, he didn't say save the titles for the Addiction by taking out the Addiction, but he said save the titles. Tanahashi came out to save the titles by taking out the Addiction. Well, who's he saving the titles for? Oh, the fucking Addiction. Son of a bitch. So if you can't keep your shit straight, shut your fucking mouth and let Steve Corino just chew his fucking nuts and berries on the mic. Honestly. Because at this point, I think listening to him stuff his fat fucking face while claiming that he's on CrossFit would have been preferable to listening to you botch that whole thing up. It's just terrible. And the thing is that Kevin Kelly's the one that books the fucking shit. So it's baffling to me. It's baffling to me how the person that's booking it can fuck it up so badly. But, again, the pay-per-view, the wrestling is untouchable. It's fantastic. It's great. The only problem I had with any of the wrestling was the unbelievability of Adam Cole, beating a guy that's got 100 pounds on him in a traditional way. That was just kind of weird. All right. What else is next here? Yes. The predictions for No Mercy. Listen, we're going to overtime with some predictions for No Mercy. All right. Now listen, the first thing I'm going to say is Miz and Maurice on the poster for the pay-per-view. I have never had a more confused boner in all of my life. Well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe that one time with Mae Young, because it did look like a tennis ball in a sports sock, but I was intrigued. Okay. Miz and Maurice on the poster was fantastic. Love that part. That's not to say that this pay-per-view is looking bad. It's actually looking pretty solid. I mean, I shouldn't say the whole pay-per-view is looking solid because the pre-show is looking weak as fuck. Jack Swagger, who hasn't been on TV in months, is now going up against Baron Corbin, the WWE's new golden boy. Gee, I wonder who's going to win. Is Jack Swagger going to win? No, I think Freaky Baby Teeth is going to lose because Baron Corbin's their boy and they need to have somebody to push over. So I'm going to call Corbin as a win, unless they're going to work out some Jack Swagger long drawn out program with Baron Corbin, which wouldn't be actually a bad thing, except that we have to see more of Baron Corbin wrestle with Jack Swagger. Kurt Hawkins versus who the fuck knows? I don't know what the fuck is going on here, but I like Kurt Hawkins, so whatever. Orton versus Wyatt, with Orton allegedly receiving a clean bill of health after getting a concussion by getting a hard way from fucking Brock Lesnar. Stupid move. We're finally going to see this match. Now, obviously, Bray needs to be the one to go over here. He's way over with the crowd, but He's been floundering since long before the brand split. I don't know how the fuck he's still so way over with the crowd, but even I find myself cheering and shit when his music hits. They need to find something to do with him, and wallowing around in mediocrity is just not doing it. I'm going with Bray on this one. Slater and Rhino as the champions versus the Usos. Listen, I know the Usos have just undergone a heel change. I really want to see them get the win to solidify that heel change, but Slater and Rhino are so crazy over, and I feel like taking the belts off of them right now would ruin both of their characters and the team, and this is just really a feud that needs to continue for a long ass fucking time. So I'm calling Slater and Rhino to win only because I think it's the best for everybody. Styles versus Ambrose versus Cena. Really? A fucking triple threat match for the fucking titles? God damn son of a bitch. We could have had the Ambrose return match and then had a Cena match at the next pay-per-view. Why, WWE booking, must you fucking come in your goddamn pants so fucking fast? Like, the woman would appreciate it so much more if you could hold out just a little bit longer. Why can't we just have the Ambrose return match versus Styles? Why do we need to have Cena in there? The match didn't go over not because of Styles and Ambrose. The match didn't go over because it was Ambrose and Styles who didn't know how to wrestle each other properly. But Cena's going to make that better? The 5 moves of doom is going to make that match better, is it? Are you fucking kidding me? Stop it. Of course, Styles is going to win. Just because if Cena gets the title back right now, it'll sort of just be a waste, really, of bringing him in the first place. But listen, they've done that before to guys that they hired, like fucking Gallows Anderson. So, whatever. If it happens, it happens. Nikki Bella and Carmella. I'm so glad that Carmella's getting the push up to the Nikki Bella level already. Say what you will about Nikki Bella. She is a much better wrestler than I think any of us ever imagined she could ever possibly be. She's not great by any stretch of the imagination, but she is way better than any of us ever thought that she actually could be. And she is their golden girl very clearly. And having her and Carmella work together, fuck, that's really good news for a Carmella mark like me. I think Carmella's fantastic. I hope she says no if they try to give her titty implants, because she's fine the way she is and she can fucking wrestle her heart out. I would have preferred if this match was for something other than Pride. I would have liked for it to be like for the number 1 contendership or something like that. I'm going to say that Carmella's going to win this, not because I'm a mark for Carmella, but I think Carmella's going to win because there's some shenanigans. I think you're going to probably see some sort of run-in that affects Nikki Bella or something like that, or a run-in that affects Carmella but somehow gets Nikki disqualified or some shit. I don't know. I don't see this match being a clean win for anybody. I just see a big shenanigans clusterfuck at the end, which is fine as long as you don't do it too much. Now, I don't know if this is the main event or not. Because it's the poster, I'm going to deal with it last. Miz with Maurice, I guess, versus Ziggler. Title versus career, which is frankly the best build that they have on this pay-per-view. I'm sorry. I mean, as entertaining as the build-up for the Usos and Slater and Rhino has been, this is by far much more entertaining. If Ziggler loses, he has to retire. Now, obviously, I don't want Ziggler to lose because I think Ziggler's awesome. And I don't want him to have to, retire. And doing a little bit of hunting. Didn't really take a whole lot of hunting, if I'm perfectly honest with you. Miz is going to start shooting his new movie in a couple weeks. I don't even want to make a joke here because, unfortunately, I kind of like some of his movies. So I think it's pretty clear that Ziggler gets the IC title. I am expecting an awful lot from this match. These guys are actually friends. These guys can both wrestle. I know Daniel Bryan shot on Miz, but I think Miz can wrestle. I think that they work well together. I think that you're going to end up entertained with this match. At least I hope so, because that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting this match to deliver. And I don't know if it's the main event or if Cena's the main event, because I saw Miz and Maurice on the poster. I assumed this is the main event. Maybe that's wrong. I don't know. But I'm calling Ziggler for this, not because I don't want Ziggler to retire. Obviously, I don't want Ziggler to retire, but it just makes more sense storyline wise that that he goes off and does his little thing. So hopefully going overtime a little bit has made up for answering a phone call during the show. I apologize for that. Apparently it's a fucking emergency, but whatever. That being said, that's it for me this week. I'm out of here. Go and enjoy No Mercy. I think it's shaping up to be a decent pay-per-view. It seems like the Daniel Bryan, Shane McMahon ship is sailing a little more upright than the Raw one is. That's just my personal perspective and point of view. Deal with it as it is. I will be flipping back and forth, or probably watching at the same time, No Mercy and my Blue Jays, hopefully getting their 3rd out of 5 wins tonight. Hopefully, we'll see. I don't know. Listen, it's an embarrassment of riches tonight for me. All right. I get to watch some wrestling. I get to watch some baseball, and I'm going to enjoy it. Okay. So go and enjoy yours. Get the fuck out of here. Go on. Go on. No, go. Get the fuck out of here. Go on.
Well, that was an abortion of a show. Should the mood take you, check out markoutradio.com and leave a comment. You can also find links there to our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Stitcher channels. You can even leave a voicemail on our Skype. Just click the links and share them.